Alright guys, so I'm going to teach you all a little bit of lower extremity neurodynamics today. So before we get into it, it's important to note that you always want to test that asymptomatic side before the symptomatic side, because that will give you a baseline of your symptoms, all that kind of stuff. You'll do this for upper extremity nerves too. But to have a positive neural tension test, we want to see a reproduction of symptoms, and then we might see a decreased neural mobility compared to that asymptomatic side. So we have our lovely model, Nick, here to help us with this. And he's also known as Slick Nick. And we're going to kind of show some different nerve tests and then how we tension and lengthen the nerves in the lower extremity. So we split them up into a sciatic group and a femoral group. So the sciatic group, all you're going to do is you're going to dorsiflex the ankle first, straighten the leg, and then bring it up. And as you can see, the sciatic nerve will become lengthened at the bottom of the leg. And a little review of the anatomy, that sciatic nerve comes from that lumbar spine, goes under that piriformis, goes down the back of the leg, splits into that common peroneal, and then tibial, and then goes down branches of the foot. So if I dorsiflex the ankle, extend the knee, and then flex the hip, I'm going to lengthen and tension that nerve. So if I wanted to do a tensioner, put full tension on it, dorsiflex, extend the leg, and then I would ask Nick to flex his head to flex the cervical spine, and that would tension fully. If I wanted to do a slider, when he flexes his head, I'm going to have him plantar flex, so flex your head now, and then when he goes back, I'll dorsiflex, and then that will kind of slide that nerve along. All right. So when we're doing this, we can also add what's known as sensitizers to it and manipulate the ankle to target specific peripheral nerves here. So if you want to come closer, Jose, here. So what I can do is, this is the tibial nerve. So that branches off that sciatic nerve, comes down, runs behind that medial malleolus like this. What I can do to influence that one, I can go dorsiflexion and eversion, and then I'll do the whole straight leg raise test with that. And that'll tension that tibial. If I want to tension this superficial peroneal, which comes off that common peroneal, which comes off the sciatic, I'll do plantar flexion and inversion and see how it gets taut there, and then I'll go up. If I want to tension the sural, which is this one back here, which you know comes off common peroneal and tibial, and then branches and goes down the back of the leg, I will do dorsiflexion and inversion and see how it gets taut compared to this one kind of being loose, and then I'll go up. And then slider and tension will be the same as the other sciatic nerve, just with cervical flexion and extension. So, all right, if you want to go. All right, so the next group we can assess is the femoral group. So you can assess these nerves in prone or sideline, but I'm going to do sideline here just because it's easier to show, and it's I personally like sideline also. So if we want to assess, this is our femoral nerve here, and then our saphenous nerve running with it. We have our obturator nerve right here in red, and then on the outside of this hip, we have the lateral femoral cutaneous nerve right here. So if I want to assess just the femoral nerve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold him kind of like an Ober's position here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring him into hip extension, and you can see how that nerve gets tighter compared to hip flexion here, it's loose. Hip extension, we get some tightness in the nerve, so we know we're tensioning it. And then if I want to confirm his symptoms here, I'll have Nick flex his head and see if that reproduces anything. Now, with this, just like the side, we can add sensitizers to it too to target other nerves. So our lateral femoral cutaneous up here, if I wanted to hit that, I could go into adduction and see how that gets tight compared to it being on slack there. Or I can go into abduction and hit that obturator nerve right here. And then even saphenous, we can go into a little bit of abduction, external rotation, and the extension to kind of hit this one right there. And then with all these, if I wanted to do a tension or slider, I'd bring him into hip extension, and then I would have Nick flex his head, and that would tension that femoral nerve. And then if I wanted to do a slider, I would have him I would extend when he flexed his head, and then when he extends his head, I would go back into flexion. So it would be kind of like this. Right there. And that's lower extremity neurodynamics.